Hello everyone, welcome to the Xing Tian solo lane in Conquest. Now, playing any Guardian these days in the solo lane is a bit of an interesting experience for a couple of reasons. First off, a lot of solo players like to build Mystical Mail in the solo lane. There's a really good reason for this. It offers you good protections, it offers you health, it gives you a damaging aura that can help you clear the wave. That's fine. But when you're playing a Guardian in this solo lane, you have to be very careful with this. Since typically, right after building Mystical Mail, or right before building Mystical Mail, depending on the individual, the enemy laning opponent is going to be building magic protections. This is going to drastically cut into the amount of damage your Mystical Mail will be doing to the enemy. Sometimes, and it depends on the individual situation, for Xing Tian, at the very least, Xing Tian, I'm not really sure. Xing Tian, I'm going to actually pronounce it as. For Xing Tian, it's often better to go Breastplate of Valor for cooldowns, physical protections, and mana, and then go into Spear the Magus to increase your damage output. With the penetration and the passive increasing damage given to the enemy by 7.5%, including by your minions, it actually serves as a really interesting and effective counter-attack or counter-strategy to that pretty classic build there. Now, in this particular case, who's my laning opponent? Either Bologna or Chalk. Chalk is a big threat. Bologna, kind of. It's pretty easy to interrupt some of her bigger attacks, so it's not as much of a problem. I'm hoping very much, but I doubt very much, that my laning opponent will be Bologna. It's definitely going to be one of the two, it's just a matter of which one. But very likely I will not be wanting to build Mystical Mail there. If I go up against Chalk, it might actually be worthwhile, because when he silences me, which is going to cut off my damage output for 2-ish seconds, Mystical Mail will still be working, which is what we want. Now, a second thing we're actually going to want first is the Hook Slam. We're going to go for Warrior's Axe. We need, very specifically, Hand of the Gods. We need Teleport, which for some reason isn't in here. I'm not sure why. And I'm not sure what laning opponent I've got. So we'll go for Greater Teleport, and we'll get potions. Alright, now we're going to leave the 200 gold here because we want to see specifically what our laning opponent is, figure out what physical protections we want, and with the 160 seconds, this means that once we teleport the first time, it'll only be 2.5 minutes before we can teleport again, rather than, what is it, 3.5 minutes? 3 1/3 minutes? 3 1/3. So, now, the reason why we want Hook Slam very specifically is because we actually do 75 damage with that with the 2 shots, but more importantly, it's not an over-time effect. It's just a slap, and we get to eliminate the ghosts a bit more effectively. The Furious Roar can eliminate the ghosts that the minion spawns, but it's a bit inconsistent in that. I've missed one minion, and that causes you a lot of damage as a result, so you really want to be careful with that. So you're going to hit it with an auto attack just to make sure that you've got its attention. And just to make sure you don't whiff. We're going to wait. Hold on. And this is what we wait for. There we go. And now we're not taking damage from those ghost minions. And we can just clear this in a decent amount of time here. There we go. And that's why it's very important to get Hook Slam first. You could go for the other one, which is technical. Okay, this is actually good. This is really good. Just kill any one minion, or any 2 minions, I guess. She cleared a little bit faster than I was expecting. Although the fact that we have Bologna is really nice, because we can interrupt her major wave clear, which is the Hammer Swing, with Hook Slam, which is really nice. We're actually going to save up Hook Slam for that specifically here. Actually, and honestly, in retrospect, the triple jump shot probably should have been what I went with before, but that's fine. That's exactly what you want to be doing. And now she's just lost her wave clear. She's taking a lot of minion poke. Now, it's very important that you allow the circle swing to hit you before you interrupt the hammer, the actual hammer part. She's got a bit better cooldown than I do, which is not too bad, because we can just do this, force her off. Yeah, we weren't able to interrupt that there, but that's fine. Clear this wave really well. This is... Okay, so we're going to want the Breastplate of Cooldown. Now, there's two reasons why we want the Breastplate of Cooldown. It's pretty... I mean, the first reason, obviously, is because we need the cooldowns to make sure that we have the... What do you mean that you said attack? I didn't have anything up. I was attacking. My goodness, you said attack. Get off my case. My goodness. Don't be a diva. What was I going to do? I don't have cooldowns yet. But anyways, yeah, we're going to specifically want Breastplate of Valor specifically for those cooldowns so we can have Hook Slam up every time she tries to Hammer Swing and respond to it every time. And this is typically why for most solo opponents, this is typically why you want Hook Slam, why you want Breastplate of Valor, not Hook Slam. This is typically why you want Breastplate of Valor going rather than Mystical Mail. Again, she's going to, at some point in the near future, be building... We're actually going to go ahead and stop that dead in tracks right there. She's actually going to be... Excellent. And now we're just going to... I doubt I can kill him. I'm hoping to just wear him down. Oh no, we've got reinforcements here. And I'm going to die here, but that's fine. I cannot believe that saved my life. And he should die. Please use your anything. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to really quickly clear this lane because I still have my teleport up. I would like... Oh, she dropped my... I didn't even notice she dropped that. That's my fault. That's 100% my fault, but that's okay. Alright. Now we fall back. You're going to use your chain, I think. You did not. Alright, that's interesting. We are going to go right for that Breastplate of Valor. There we go. Yeah, we lost a couple of minions, but that's fine. Now, another thing that's really giving us an advantage here is our passive, which gives us, obviously, HP 5. Which is fantastic. Good. Now, this is actually why we pretty actively want to be drawing minion aggro. Unlike her, she does not want minion aggro. Because we're going to be passively healing up regardless, right? So we can actually... I wasted a potion there, actually, because of my HP 5. But... she can't afford to lose as much health. Yes, she's got her chain whip, but she's clearly not using it as often. And I'm not sure why, because it would be really easy for her to do so. I was slightly too late on that, just barely. Actually going to just poke her here at this point. That was her ult down, okay. My mana buff is going to be up pretty soon. We'll clear this wave and then go back for that. Okay, good. Now we're just going to run over here and go ahead and clear this. We're going to open with Furious Roar, because we can hook slam the minions. Actually, hold on. There we go. She's not here. What's she building? She's building her magic protections first, yep. And again, because she's building those magic protections, Mystical Mail isn't going to mean as much. So it's not really worth building it, in all honesty. Not only do we need the cooldowns from Breastplate of Valor to continuously interrupt her Hammer Swing, but the damage output from Mystical Mail, to her at the very least, the minions would still take the same amount of damage, but to her, that would be less meaningful. Okay, we got some great poke there. I'm not... She's already gone. I'm not going to be able to get anything out of that. I already know this. I know she's got teleport too. So... Yep, there she comes. What has she built? Is she finished? She has finished Shogun's Kusari. Oop. Badoop. Yes, please line up. Thank you. Increase that hook slam. I think, yeah. I barely hit that. I almost missed that. Now notice I'm not using Hook Slam. I'm relying on my first and third abilities. I need Hook Slam up to prevent her from wave clearing effectively. I mean, I'll let her do it under her tower. That's fine. That's fine. Not a huge deal. I'm just trying to keep her on her toes. She's already used her teleport. So I can use this pretty safely without any fear because she's not going to be up in time. Finish Furious Roar, that's our main source of damage. Go ahead and clear this. I'm going to let Nemesis solo clear the mana buff for the experience and gold. She's level 6, I'm level 9. I don't need it as much. She'll get more benefit out of it. Especially since I'm pretty sure Chalk is their jungler. Yeah, he is. And he's 2 levels up on her. So she needs the experience more than I do. So letting her have that experience is pretty important. I'm going to go ahead and clear this wave. Go on. There it is. Every time. Clear that. We're actually not even going to go back yet. She's still not really hitting us hard. She's now building her physical protections. Again, I do need my cooldowns, though, honestly. Did you just try to... I can't tell if she was intentionally trying to hit me with that or not. She's probably going to go ahead and follow me closer to tower now, which is fine. Come on. No, you're not going to? Shame on you. Do you have... No, you don't have anything. Okay. I do need to reward this area here. Also, the fact that I don't know where Chalk is mildly concerning, but... Nope. Stop that. I can't believe you let me do that. I honestly am very surprised you let me do that. Okay. That's fine, I guess. Oh, hello. No. You can't kill me, you know this. And you're not going to catch up to Nemesis in time to do anything to her either. This Chalk is on a single-minded mission. Okay, alright. I'll help out, but don't freak out. I doubt we're going to do anything significant here. You're not strong enough for this? Oh, that was bad. Yeah. Yeah, take all this damage. You really should not be tanking this much damage, my guy. Oh. Oh, so close. He was one. Come on, Thoth. There we go. Alright, I have my teleport up, so I'm not too broken up about dying. We'll get Breastplate of Determination here. And then we're going to want Spear of the Magus. That'll really help us slap down... We need wards. Slap down Bellona. We're going to go from... No, we can't go for multi-potions. There we go. She's going to go ahead and catch up to us slightly. I'm not too concerned about it. No, we don't need to surrender this. My goodness. I'm not sure why Tsunami is there. That's really weird, but okay. Thanks, I guess. A bit strange. And it leaves duo lane dangerously open. But yeah, no idea. Bring it on. Bring it on. There it is. I barely timed that correctly. That was very close. Okay. And you just let me do that again. I'm not sure why. She just lets me do that. Continuously. It's weird. Does she have her teleport up? I really don't know. Apparently not, because she's not teleporting in. So we'll go ahead and do this then. Alright. She just returned now, so we can still afford to do that. That's fine. Ah, I miscalculated. That's on me. I'm gonna feign weakness. No, she's not falling for it. That's fine. Come on, then. Nope. You get under that. No, I'm not going to go ahead and ult her yet. I am bodying her. Alright. Go ahead and grab my own mana buff over here really quick. Perfect. Go ahead and use this really quick for extra damage. There we go. No, you don't. What do you think you're doing? You don't want to get too close to my tower. Oh, we surrendered, I guess. Well, at least you saw the early game of support. I'll talk a little bit about how the late game of Xing Tian works, but and I'm going to ignore the whatever drama was going on there. I think it was a combination of issues. But I am going to upload this because it was such a great early game, a great example of early game, and when you want to build Breastplate of Valor over, say, I'll commend those two because they actually did do a good job. When you want to build Breastplate of Valor over anything else, did I just crash? Yeah, okay. When you want to build Breastplate of Valor on Xing Tian over Mystical Mail. And the Bologna is a perfect example of that. Now, granted, the 20% cooldown from Breastplate of Valor wasn't quite enough to push me, but that's because she built Shogun's Kusari. She had 10% cooldown, so she was able to pull that slightly ahead. It was a very near thing, and it was still up often enough to matter, which is the important thing. But I think you're going to find a lot of warriors that Xing Tian can interrupt like that. Actually, let's cover the warriors really quick now. Not the guardians. What is my fingers doing? Sun Wukong's animal form can often be interrupted with that. I don't think Tyr's dash can be. Immune to knockup, yeah, he can't be. But I'm pretty sure Sun Wukong's animal form can be knocked out. Yeah, you can knock him out of the eagle and then he gets rooted. He can't be knocked out of the ox, but a lot of solo lane Sun Wukongs typically are going to go for the tiger or the eagle anyways. They'll use the ox to clear the wave, but they'll use the tiger to actually try to kill you. You can knock them out of the tiger, and they'll use the eagle to try to escape. You can knock them out of the eagle, right? If you see the ox, which you're going to, just ignore it. Just blast him with Furious Roar or whatever. Beyond that, there's not really a ton of other people that really matter. You can use it to escape Erlong Shen if he's really... If you see Erlong Shen use Spot Weakness, use Hook Slam, split, let it wear off, then fight him. Because you're not going to win that boxing match as long as Spot Weakness is active. You can also knock him out of his 72 transformations. Both of them. So that's pretty nice. I don't think you can knock him out of his Taolu. I mean the knockback. No, you can. Or at the very least, root him in it. Which, again, gets you out of that. Because the one thing you don't want with Guan Yu is to be hit by a full Taolu Assault. Because that's going to weaken you down, protection-wise, to a point where you're, again, not going to win that boxing match. So you want to hook slam him out of this, well, root him at the very least. So that really works well. I believe you can... Yes, you can knock Vamon out of his dash as well. Beyond that, I don't think you can. Yeah, she's immune to knockback, but you can knock her out of it. You can stop rend as well. I was wondering about that. I couldn't remember if they'd changed to that or not, because I know you used to be able to, and you still can apparently, so that's nice. I don't think you can do anything to him. You can knock up. Yeah, you can root him in it, but you can't knock him out of it. I don't think Mulan can do any... You can knock her out of the cross strike if you're early enough. That's pretty tough. It only really matters when she's got it mastered anyways, and when she's adept with it anyways, because she has the third one. You can usually knock her out of the third one with very little problem. I believe you can knock Odin out of his spear as well, yeah. You can knock him out of Gungnir's Might, which is really nice. There's really not much you can do to Osiris, straight up. But for those particular... I haven't fought Shiva in the solo lane often enough to be able to give you a honest, qualified opinion on whether or not you can do anything with Shiva. To the best of my knowledge, his dash you can knock him out of. Yeah. No. No, you can't. Unless you can knock him out of the dash part itself, because I know you can't knock him out of the part when he's sitting there, but can you knock him out of the dash? I don't know. Again, I haven't fought him in solo lane with Xing Tian often enough to give you an opinion on Shiva. But besides Shiva, I've fought everyone else here pretty well. I just can't... What I was really checking here was to make sure that they haven't updated them in knockback, because I haven't played Xing Tian that much in the solo lane in the new season. I've played him a little bit, but not a ton. So I needed to double check that they didn't change any of this with the new season that I wasn't aware of. But yes, most of these still work. The ones that you do want to be using Mystical Mail for are, frankly, Gilgamesh. Primarily because it's going to, even if he stuns you with Dropkick, or he's healing through Hero's Advance, you can use Mystical Mail as a pretty consistent source of damage anyways. His ult is not really that much of a concern. You can jump out of that pretty easily, so it's not really a problem with Xing Tian. It's mostly going to be boxing him with Hero's Advance. Sunforged Scimitar isn't that big of a threat by itself, because again, you can hook slam him out of that. Furious Roar, same thing with Erlong Shen. He activates Spot Weakness, you hook slam him, you Furious Roar, you run. Hercules you do want Mystical Mail for, because you want to be able to do as much damage as possible between mitigate wounds, right? He's going to pop this every single time he's going to box you, which is bad, but he can take passive damage from the Mystical Mail and reduce his available HP totals. Yes, he heals a little bit beforehand. It's not really that much of a heal, but that damage between boxing matches is going to really help you in the long run, because he's not going to be using mitigate wounds 100% of the time unless he's not experienced with boxing with Hercules. This is something you pop before you start the box. If you're using this all the time, that's a waste of mana and a waste of its potential. So you really want to be using Mystical Mail to wear him down between boxing matches, and then just pick the boxing match where you know you can win because of all this damage you've been doing between hand. So it's very important against Hercules to have Mystical Mail. It's still important to build Spear of the Magus as your third item typically, because again, you want to be doing that extra damage to punch through mitigate wounds a little bit better. It also allows your Mystical Mail to do a little bit more damage, but that's why you would want Mystical Mail against Hercules. Now keep in mind, some of these, some of the gods that I mentioned here don't require Breastplate of Valor. It's just how I prefer to do it. The ones that really require Breastplate of Valor are Bellona, Vaman, Sun Wukong, Odin, gotta stop that stun, Mulan. Right? The rest of these, it can come down to personal preference. I prefer to use Breastplate of Valor and hook slamming against Guan Yu, because it's more effective to get away from him. You know, even just having your double jump available more frequently to get away from Talu Assault is pretty important, because Mystical Mail does less damage to him with Talu Assault. He'll be using it on the wave, he'll be using it pretty consistently, and if he's smart, he's rushing cooldowns too. So Mystical Male really doesn't do that much to a Guan Yu fight between boxing matches. He's going to be healing with his first ability, so any damage you're doing between boxing matches, unlike with Hercules, he's going to be healing up because he's not necessarily going to care about using it in between healing, because it's just a heal. Unlike with Hercules Mitigate Wounds, which increases his protections, which is why you want to save it for a boxing match, Guan Yu's heal doesn't do that, it just heals. So it's actually better for him to use it between boxing matches because he can keep his wave alive, and then when he's done killing your wave and he's still got wave minions left because he's been healing them, that's when he starts boxing. Right? So Guan Yu, Mystical Male means nothing too. It does not matter using Mystical Male against Guan Yu. You really want the cooldown reduction of Breastplate of Valor against Guan Yu. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Chalk would have been a really rough solo lane because his ultimate, that silence, is really difficult to deal with. Your double jump typically isn't going to be fast enough or far-reaching enough to get you out of the effects of that ult in time to prevent the silence. If you're in a boxing match with him already, you're in melee range probably, and you're probably going to get slapped with that silence. Unless he's trying to initiate with it, you're probably going to get silenced. And Mystical Male becomes pretty important there, especially since, again, just like Hercules, he's going to want to activate the rain during the boxing matches, because, guess what, that reduces attack speed. Now, while Xing Tian doesn't care much about his auto attacks, it's still something Chalk players, experienced Chalk players, are going to want to pull the rain off during a boxing match. They're really not going to want to try to use it too often between boxing matches. They may occasionally, if they have his passive up, his 5 stacks for the free mana cast, then they might use it between boxing matches, but generally they're going to try to save it for boxing matches. So again, just like with Hercules, you're trying to use Mystical Male to chip down at their available HP. Sorry, I just backhanded my mic. You're trying to use Mystical Male to chip down at their HP in the hopes of getting them weak enough so you can win the next boxing match, even if they think they're going to win it. Right? I typically don't use Mystical Male on Amaterasu because she can use that with her Divine Shield a little bit easier and turn that into more damage against your wave or you. So Mystical Male is an extremely high-risk proposition. I typically utilize, again, Breastplate of Valor against Amaterasu, not because Hook Slam is effective at interrupting anything she's got, but just because she can't turn around and use Mystical Male's damage against you with her mirror. Achilles, I typically use Mystical Male on because, again, he does heal a little bit, but it's from Radiant Glory, but it's such a small amount that, honestly, he can't really overcome the damage from Mystical Male with it, even in a best-case scenario for him. So, Mystical Male is very handy against Achilles. It basically nullifies his self-heal and then some. Horus is a really tough case in matchups against him as Xing Tian in the solo lane, where it comes down to who's going to interrupt who, because he can interrupt your Hook Slam very easily, while all of these potentially can interrupt that. For Hercules can interrupt it very easily, but often you're not going to care. Gilgamesh can interrupt it pretty easily with his kick, but that's about it, and he usually opens a boxing match with the kick. So as long as you don't use Hook Slam to initiate, you're pretty much golden. Beyond that, Amaterasu can silence you out of everything you've got, obviously. Achilles can stun you out of, again, everything you've got. But Horus is an interesting point where his crowd control is such a short range, the updraft here, that it becomes a really interesting contest. You're still going to generally want Mystical Male because, again, he's going to want to try to use Protector's Surge before boxing you. Also, he requires minions there to do this, which is interesting. So, it's really important that you wipe his minion wave as quickly as possible, and Mystical Male is really helpful for that. More so than Breastplate of Valor typically is. King Arthur is a pain in the neck. How you want to deal with him as Xing Tian comes down to your personal preference. Me personally, I like to use Breastplate of Valor, again, not because I can interrupt him, but because if I need to escape from him, I can do that. If I need to box him, at least I'm getting abilities up a little bit more frequently, which is nice. If you prefer Mystical Male against King Arthur, you can. He does not have any self-heal, so it is possible to really effectively utilize Mystical Male against him. It comes down to your personal preference, really, with King Arthur. You'll have to experiment facing off against King Arthur's before you can ultimately decide, hey, I prefer one or the other. Beyond that, I would say, again, Tyr, for Power Cleave's heal, he needs minions there, and it's not a really strong heal at the early game. Early game, it's actually really weak. So Mystical Mail is, just like with Hercules and with Achilles, and even Chalk, it's very effective at chipping down his HP between boxing matches, because he's generally going to want to heal on the wave, so that's when he usually will be trying to heal, but is between those boxing matches. So just getting rid of that via the power of Mystical Mail is very helpful. I may do a hopefully longer conquest with the solo lane, but I did cover minimally what I wanted to cover here, because the late game Xing Tian in the solo lane is basically you're playing support Xing. The only difference is your starter item is different, and the order in which you've built a lot of items is different, and you don't have Gauntlet of Thebes. That's basically the only difference there between late game solo Xing and late game support Xing. Alright? They function very similarly beyond that. Because you're building very similarly to how you would as a support, you're just building it in a different order and dropping Gauntlet of Thebes. Typically, when I'm solo lane, the only real difference is, build-wise, between the two is, instead of building Gauntlet of Thebes at the beginning, I'll pretty much always build Soul Reaver last. It's just very helpful on a solo lane Xing, and the rest of the items will be defensive. That's literally the only difference. I play very similarly as a solo Xing as I do as a support Xing. It's just that one item difference, really, for just a bit more damage, and that's about it. So, but yeah, you're approaching it the same way. As a support Xing. Support Xing late game gameplay is very similar to solo lane Xing in the late game. It just comes down to one item change. You're swapping out Gauntlet of Thebes at the start for Soul Reaver at the end. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And thank you all very much for joining me, and have a great 24 hours. Oh, and one final thing, Osiris has the same problem as King Arthur. There's no right or wrong way of approaching him, so if you want to use Breastplate of Valor because you prefer that, go for it. If you want to use Mystical Mail because you prefer that, also go for it. Thank you very much for joining me.